Hello everyone, this is Jimmy and welcome to episode 7 of Installation Route, where last video we set up this orchid automation, and it has been producing these various matter blocks for us. So we have blue matter, elemental stone, infused andesite, and untamed plant matter. Of these, right now we only need the infused andesite because this is a critical component in making andesite dust. It is literally the only way to get andesite dust, which is a critical component in these 4 ingots. So my next goal is to work on at least the production, maybe not the automation yet, but at least the production of these 4 fancy looking ingots. So, looking at what else goes into this, most of it, so I think what goes into the production of these is one of the 4 thermal powders, right? Think of the thermal dust, these things. So pyrotheum melts into blazing pyrotheum, cryothium melts into gelid cryothium, aerotheum melts into this thingy, and petrotheum melts into this thingy. So that's part 1. The other part is an item. There's a fluid that is made from various runes, I believe. So it's a little annoying still that JEI does not work with this mod, but Virid, these names are something. But they're all made from this heavy water stuff infused with something else. So the 4 recipes are, well, there are 4 of these 5. I think it's not this one, but it's heavy water infused with red petals, black petals, emeralds, or pink petals. Of these, the emerald is the most difficult of the batch to make, but we get 1 bucket per emerald, and these use some kind of strange amounts. But anyways, the trick to this is that we need to automate at the very least runes of earth, and probably it's worth automating all the runes in the process. So the first thing I want to accomplish today is automatic production of runes on demand, basically. In the meantime, I've been continuing to periodically take my iron out of this furnace for the experience, and I noticed something different. This recipe is now only giving 0.7 EXP. I swear it said like 6 or something when I set the system up. What's changed? I have no clue. I looked through all these recipes and I feel like some of these numbers are just different. So I don't know, maybe as we advance through the quests here, there's hidden things in the quests that change the amount of experience you get. I believe you can do that with game stages, so I guess our free experience has been nerfed a little bit. I mean, it's still free experience for the click of a button every 30 seconds, so I'm not going to really complain, but yeah, we get less free experience than we did before. Alas. Automating the runic altar has 2 halves. First is the putting the items onto the altar half, and second is the completing the craft and taking the items off. I started with the second half because that seemed easier to me, no other reason. But the way I have it set up is that when the craft completes, it automatically drops the piece of living rock and then hits it with a wand of the forest. So let me walk you through how that's done. The altar emits a comparator signal with 2 states. Well, I guess 3 states. 0, 1, or 2. So in a state of 1, it is accepting mana. In a state of 2, it is ready to finish. That is, it is done with the mana part. And in a state of 0, obviously, it's waiting. So when the mana state is 1, this is just, we detect that, right? If this piece of redstone is powered, the mana, it is emitting at least 1. What we'll do with this signal is to turn off the inputs so that we don't input more than 1 set of items at a time. Anyways, then if the state is 2, so if this piece of redstone is powered, we, on a 4-tick delay, power the dispenser down here. This is what hits the thing with the wand of the forest and completes the craft. Then, on a 1-tick delay, we go and power the dropper. That's what sends a piece of living rock through the system to be dropped. So it drops the living rock, and then basically as soon as the living rock hits the runic altar, these 4 ticks are up, which causes the craft to finish. Then, on a 8-tick delay, we activate a vacuumulator, which pulls in the final finished product. The reason that you can't always just leave the vacuumulator on is, for one, that'll steal the living rock, but you can't just like blacklist the living rock and then turn it on, because then you'll steal the items that are getting dropped onto the runic altar in the first place. So all right, let's just quick proof of concept here. I'm gonna craft a rune. That's definitely not the recipe for a rune. Then when it's done crafting, cha-ching, and then we can repeat this ad nauseum. So even if, like, just for manual crafting, this makes things a lot easier. I can probably just literally hold down right click here now. And this will manually craft as long as I have stuff in my inventory. But that's not what I want. I want to be able to step away and have this thing do its thing. So next up is to work on the automatic insertion of runes. And the challenge here is that I only want to insert the crafting for one set of runes at a time, right? I want this one altar to be able to service all however many types of runes there are, and probably all the other runic altar recipes as well. So there's 58 pages of runic altar recipes. I want this one crafter to be able to do all of them. We're not going to obviously encode them all at once. There's 58 pages of recipes, but a lot of them are clones. Like, it's just allowing multiple wools and stuff I'm never going to make. But yeah, my point is I want this one altar to have the flexibility to do more than one recipe. We'll probably end up putting like all the T1, T2s, maybe most of the T3s. So like 10-ish recipes will go into it. But let's figure out a way to do that. Here I am in my test world. As you can see, I'm outside the box, flying around, but I wanted to show the proof of concept for the redstone decoder that I'm using for this project. I know this can be done in vanilla redstone, but I figured if this pack's going to give us this ridiculous mine co-processors mod, let's use it to do ridiculous things. So what we're doing here is I want to build a system that will detect the first crate that matches the, that has a recipe in it, and light up its corresponding lamp, right? Basically, it's a decoder for me to determine which recipe to process when given a redstone pulse. So right now, I'm just using dummy items, but I have items in every crate and items set on every one of these inventory scanners. So basically, I wanted to say, I want this light to light up when I flip this lever, like so. And then if, the first 4 crates don't have recipes, but let's say, some of the 5th one does and some of the ones later on, when I flip this switch, I want, okay, that's not what's supposed to happen. Why is this inventory sensor on? Item match. Oh, it's matching the blank spots. Inventory sensors, you're not allowed to do that. Oh, hold on, let me. Yeah, what was happening was that the inventory sensor here, if it's on match any mode, it'll match the blank slots against the blank slots in the. But no, it's not doing that now. I don't know. Whatever, I'm going to leave it on match all because that's the mode it's supposed to be on. So what we see here is that these sensors are off, but eventually one of these is on because we have items in here. So when I flip this switch, I expect its light to light up in a couple seconds. Cool. So essentially, this is a series of logic gates where each gate is configured that if the input on this side is on, then transmit the left input to the right and turn off the front input. Otherwise, if the back input is off, then keep the front input off. But given that is, a non-trivial thing to do in vanilla redstone, I figured, yeah, let's use this processors mod because that's the entire purpose of this thing, is that it can read and write redstone logic states. So here's the code for it. For those of you that aren't familiar with programming in general, or perhaps assembly type code more specifically, this is magic. Let me walk you through this magic a little bit. So, starting from the top, we have this first line runs once. What it does is it just sets the state of the, it tells the program which ports are input and output based on this bit mask here. So it's saying I think it goes left, right, front, back. Left port is input, right port is output. I guess it's left, right, back, front. Wait, no, left, right, yeah, left, right, front, back. Left is input, right is output, front is output, back is input. Correct. Then we go into this loop. So this here is a label. Then we snapshot the value. So this processor runs one line of code per tick. So to eliminate race conditions, I want to snapshot the values here. I snapshot the back value into A. So A is what's called a register, and think of it as a variable. And then PB is processor back, PL is processor left. So I copy from this to that, this to that. All right, then I compare the value in A, which is read here from the back, right? I compare that to this special value, OXFF or 255. That's just what the processor reads a high redstone value as, we can see here. So we compare it to redstone high. If the redstone value is low, we jump to this off code. Likewise, we do the same thing with, we compare both the back and the left to this redstone high value. If either of those comparisons fail, we end up here, which causes, we move the value from A, which is our back value, to the front. So we propagate the signal through, and then we set the right value to off. Then we jump back to the top and restart the loop. All right, so say we didn't do any of these jumps, then we continue on. Then we move the front value to 0. This is how we make sure that we only activate one output at a time, one of the lamps at a time, and set the bright output high, so that sets the lamp on. And then we also jump back to the top. So by chaining a series of these processes together, and each of these processes needs to be running, well, in this case, they are all running the same code, although they don't have to be running the same code. We've created this redstone decoder that for any given configuration will, it takes it a little while, but it will only turn on the first output that match it. Like for any given left side output, it'll only turn on the first right side output that is on. So here we go. Like in this case, because I put items into this crate, it'll only output to this lamp. So the idea is that we will put crafters, right? We will put crafters and pipes. What are those called? Item ducts here. And then these will pull the, when we ask for runes, they will pull the items into these crates. We check their status, and when we will periodically send a pulse to this thing, and then we can read the redstone signal off this to power much like we did with the Terra Steel, to power a inventory, the item mover, whatever, to move the items eventually through to the dropper, or to the Runic altar. Let's keep this in mind, go back to our main world, and build it all out. The real sucky part about doing this in survival and not creative is that I have to actually craft these processors, and that means I have to do this stupid clicking the circuit scribe thing. Oh man, it hurts me emotionally to use this machine, but oh well, can't avoid it. I'm gonna make, so the difference between the redstone processor and the overclock processor is that the redstone processor runs one operation per 2 ticks, and the overclock processor runs one operation per tick. Considering that diamonds are now made, like, they're effectively free, right? Because we can duplicate coal, we can make, we can duplicate sand, well, we can't make sand, but we can, normal sand. We can make sand from cobble, so that's free, and gunpowder can be made from flint, which is also basically free. So yeah, with diamonds being so cheap, I think I'm gonna just bite the bullet, make the expensive processor, and because this whole logic thing is already a little bit slow. It takes about like a half second per step. So because I want our crafting to be fast, I'm gonna use fast processors. Even crafting the code books is annoying in survival. Everything's easier in creative. If you want to avoid having to craft twice as many processors, basically you can make a code book from a processor, but technically I think the mod is happy to execute code out of just regular books. You don't get like its syntax highlighting, but I'll live without that. Is it gonna work? Yeah, okay, so we just had to make books and copy it over. And then we can load up one of each of these with the code, and then we're off to the races. Oh, all that was left is to hook up the redstone and item ducting and all that stuff, and hope to God that it's not broken. So I ended up having to use wireless redstone to transmit like the redstone signal from the processor to the stack mover. I'm sure again it could have been done with vanilla redstone, but I, for the life of me, cannot be bothered to figure it out. So wireless transmitter, wireless receiver, they're linked together. Likewise, I'm using wireless redstone to grab the stop signal from here. So if the altar is crafting, right, if the redstone signal coming out of the altar is at least 1, then we send a stop signal, which comes to this receiver, which goes to turn off the timer so it doesn't keep ticking. All right, so this is a manual kill switch, and right now I have it configured to have crafting items in the first 2 crates. So I think one of them is for, oh, hold on, I have this recipe wrong. One of them is for Rune of Fire, one is for Rune of Earth. So let's make sure at least use all, yeah. So let's make sure everything is configured right. How do I click on? I guess we have to get rid of the lamp to click on that. I haven't thought of that. All right, that's fine. These lamps indicate whether or not there's just enough materials in the crate for crafting. So if I flip this off, the timer begins. Then once 8 seconds pass, that should begin the first craft. So we should see items get put into this allocator in any second now. Okay, I broke it. How'd I break it? Oh, wait, there it goes. I don't... Well, what should happen? Oh, no. Okay, so... It takes... Okay, here's the problem we're running into. It takes more than 8 seconds for items to go from this allocator down to the altar to start crafting. Which means that setting this timer to 8 seconds is insufficient. It takes about 15 seconds, I guess, for items to get there. So anyways, yeah, when items reach there, they craft. It resets the timer so that we don't try to craft too many things at once. I really wish we had item teleportation in this pack, man, like under IO cables, but what can we do? And I think the one change I need to do is we need to make this pulse length at least long enough for this thing to pick it up. The problem I'm running into, this pulse is getting lost because it's only like a 1-tick output pulse. If it's that perfectly synced up to this processor, the processor is losing the redstone pulse, which is causing it to not move items. But that's an easy enough problem to fix. We can just use a pulse lengthener of some sort. But yeah, once we have that problem fixed, I think we can say we have fully automated rune production. Well, okay, and one more thing is we just have to hook up the crafters to these crates. Let's do both of those things really quick. If there's one thing this pack has taught me, it's that even simple redstone contraptions are not so simple when all you have is more or less vanilla redstone. Whoops. Oh well. So I don't have something that can arbitrarily form pulse lengths of my choosing, no sequencer type blocks. So I'm just using a hopper clock to generate a 50% uptime pulse, as opposed to the timer that generates a 1-tick pulse. So anyways, we can set the length of the timer based on the number of items in it. So it's standard hopper clock, and then when the redstone gets over here, that turns this on. That should craft an item. And actually I discovered that because of how long it takes for the items to actually move through the system, it is longer than the crafting time. I don't actually have to take the feedback from the crafting system. I can just assume that by the time I send the next set of items, it'll be done crafting the previous set, because that's just a true statement. So yeah, this now why did it not send a set of, oh, I guess it did send a set of items, I just didn't see them in the item allocator here. But yeah, now this here will go through and as long as there are items in this crate, see, oh, there goes the next one. And because this first one is crafting, right, it's not sending items from the second crate. That's what this whole processor line is for. Man, this is such a ridiculous build. Whatever, it works. You know what? There's literally nothing simple about it, but it works. So I'm not going to complain. Perhaps the hardest part is actually getting up to it. You won't believe how much fall damage I've taken doing that while in the process of building this thing. But hey, it works. And I'm okay. I'm happy with that. So now there's only one thing left to test. I'm gonna let it craft through everything that's in here, and then I'm going to request stuff and see if it can do the requests on demand. I think it's time we did a top to bottom test of this entire system. So before we do that, there's one thing I want to correct, a statement I made last video, or maybe a couple videos ago, when talking about this logistics crafting system. I mentioned that the items have to come out the exact same place they come in, unlike with, say, logistics pipes where they're satellite pipes. Turns out that's a lie. Items do not have to come out the same inventory they come in. If we want to specify a different inputs versus outputs, we can actually use this linking system. So for this given, you can link any number of things together to say, you know, like split inputs and outputs apart. So the way that I'm specifying things here is that this recipe, right, has its inputs going here, and it's linked with another recipe that says the output goes to here. So this way we can split up, you know, say that all of the various Rune outputs come to here, but all the inputs get it going to each of their own machines. That just simplifies the logic a little bit. Perhaps with using that type of logic all along, it may have been possible to, you know what, let's not worry about it. Let's just make sure this works. So I've taken all of our runes out, and now if I order, say, 8 runes of earth, nope, can't do that, what's missing? 4 mushrooms, 4 blocks of coal. All right, let me fix that real quick. Mushrooms, I know I was growing some. There we go. And blocks of coal we can probably just craft. Cool, let's try that again. So, runes of earth, 8 of these. Runes of fire, 8 of those. And then what'll happen is all the materials should get worked their way into here. When that happens, that light turns on, the second light should turn on, and then now that, I mean, now we've seen the rest of the system in action already, right? When this timer ticks over, it should begin the craft for 1 item at a time. Excellent. So now we have fully automated, hold on, it did 2 items at a time. No, why? Why are you broken? Don't do this to me. I thought we were done. Figured out what went wrong, and I'm not sure if I can fix it. That's bad. So right now this inventory sensor thinks it checks out, right? It's yep, this inventory checks out, you're good. Except for the fact that there's no mana steel in there. Do I have to, oh wait. So if I turn on ignore damage, does that fix it? Why does ignore damage? Yeah. What happened the first time was that the thing turned on when it was in this state, like it only had 4 of the items. So the first batch that went through, the bulk filter here, if you send it a redstone pulse when you only have a partial match, it'll do the best it can. So for some reason, while it only had 4 inputs the first time, this inventory sensor turned on, lying to our processor, lying to the entire system, confusing it. I guess if I flip the ignore damage switch, maybe that... Man, I don't understand how these inventory sensors work. I hope it's not just a bug in factory tech, but who knows. Alright, I'm just going to turn all these off, and hopefully that fixes it. Who knows? Okay, so now if I do this, let's make sure it's still off, and now it turns on. And now it turns off. No, it doesn't. Why is it not off? Inventory sensor, you're lying. It's like not receiving the necessary updates or something. What? I don't get it. Right? Match all. This is not an all match. Now it's okay. Match all. Take one out. Off. On. Off. On. Off. On. Still on. Maybe it has to do with the way I take the item out. If I click it out, it's okay. If click it out, it's not. I'm gonna assume that for some reason the inventory sensor has not seen that update. But then we just need to make sure that when the items actually get inserted into here, that it triggers correctly. So I'm gonna go, let's see, cancel these crafting requests and try that again. So let's take all of our crafting ingredients out, put them back in the system, and re-request the craft. And hopefully it doesn't do something weird and unexpected like that again. How do I have 10 sawdust? Sawdust is used in multiples of 3. How did that get messed up? Right? Yeah, that's inserted in multiples of 3. Oh, I left 2 of it in the crate. Whoops. Man, nothing's going my way today. Rune. This is easily the most complicated way I've made runes ever, and it's causing a lot of problems. Alright, request 8 of these, 8 of those. Let's just sanity check the items. Not here yet. Not here yet. They should be arriving soon, though. Maybe. Why are my items not arriving? Now would I break? Why is something always broken? The request is still there. You are not expecting inputs. Why are you not expecting inputs? But one more try. Runes. 8 of you, 8 of you. That should send inputs to here, but it's not. I don't have the slightest clue what's happening. Where are my items going? Alright, we're gonna try one more thing then. We're gonna disable and re-enable these and give it another go. So please work. This logistics. Okay, good. We are expecting input. And don't turn on until, it's tough to tell, but I don't think it turned on until all the items were there. Yeah, it's tough. I don't know if like I'm dealing with bugs in a mod or if I'm doing something wrong, or everything is just so unclear. But now let's turn this on and then let it craft its thing. And this part we've seen work, so this part won't break. I'm confident it won't break. It's about to start crafting. Please start crafting, I beg of you. Good. And then once this is done, it finishes crafting. That should eventually stick the item in here, which causes this thing. Yeah, it's already, we see how this is a 6. That means that craft is done. And then the next one should begin shortly. We can probably reduce the amount of time between crafts. Although then again, these are tier 1 runes. Tier 1 runes craft quickly. Once we get to the higher tier runes, they craft a little bit slower. Let's not rush things. I'm just glad it's automated. We can request runes and walk away. Cool. So let's put in the recipes for the other runes, I guess. Right now, I've only done the fire and earth for testing purposes, but there's no reason we can't slip in the rest of the tier 1 runes. Enable the last crafter, and all of our tier 1 runes are fully requestable. Saying fully is probably a lie, because some of these runes probably have definitely have subcomponents that we don't have fully recursive crafting for, but we'll deal with that later. For now, we can just order, say, air, right? If I wanted 16 of these, it'll craft as many as it can, and then it'll error out saying what I'm missing, and we can request that to like we can manually craft that and request the rest later. Even handling regular like 2x2 or 3x3 crafting recipes is non-trivial to automate. We can make sequential fabricators now. They've been unlocked, but they take 2 tier 4 runes or tier 3 runes each, and they handle a single recipe each. So sequential fabricators are, I mean, they work, but they're kind of a hassle, especially when you have limited space to work in. So right now, I just want to make sure that that request I made for air runes functions. It appears like it's not going to. That's probably because I haven't configured my my item movers, but the items should have ended up in here as expected. Okay, good. Looking back on this, the whole goal of trying to do all the crafting on one altar was to, you know, the intent is to save space. I'm not convinced I managed to save any space. At least with 4 recipes, I think if I did it with 4 altars, it'd be about the same size. because this is like, it costs less blocks per additional recipe added, right? This can, as I have it set up here, go up to 12 recipes. So I guess it probably handles 12 recipes in less space than one altar per block with all of the automation for the altars. So you know what? A minor victory. This was a far more challenging project than I had anticipated, but it's done, and it was fun. So, you know, we'll count those. We take these wins. All right. Anyways, the next step is to use these runes and make the these various fluids, but I think we're out of time for today. So why don't we wrap up here? We'll come back next time and make these various fluids to make these various ingots and go from there. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video, and I hope we see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.